Okay, guys, I'm going to start. Um, we're not a lot of people today, but I am recording this session. So today we have Alan with me. I'm going to switch on my camera. And yeah, my mic is on, and there's Alan.
Good day, everybody. Hope you're doing well.
So I think let's start with just a recap on what we said last week. And you can put in the notes to maybe because I can't now, um, I can't now change the settings. I don't know what I did, but I'll check it. David, I'll look rather later. Sorry for that. So if I can recap on last week we spoke about your mind and how strong your mind is. And I shared with you my comrade's experience. I shared with you the story that Alan told about when he's played golf with Gary Player, that 90% is in your mind and 10% is skill. And I gave you some work to go and do. And one of the things that you had to do is you had to write down your two core beliefs, you had to create a monthly tracker, and you had to record a 30-second video declaring your core beliefs. And I said I'm going to be vulnerable this time, and I'll share with you my core beliefs. And what my video basically says is that I believe knowledge changes lives. People deserve information so they can make confident decisions. My mission is simple: to empower people with knowledge and stand up for fairness when it matters most. I get quite uneasy when medical schemes flex their muscle and don't do what they're supposed to do. And I think if I had to say and to ask everybody, what's my core beliefs, you would say that that's what I live every single day. And what happened during this month, I'm busy with a huge amount of cases. It's a massive workload. And during the process of this year, I actually doubted myself the whole time. Am I good enough? Because if I lose this case, it means we're actually losers. Please got minimum benefits. So it's a very important case. And I was very concerned about it until about 2 weeks ago. And it was at a Friday club where I had a discussion with Cindy. I asked her to write me a legal opinion in terms of my approach and what my view is and what the law says and what the interpretation says of the Statutes Act say. And immediately that lifted that burden off me. And I could then start really focusing on what is important. And so for the first half of the month, following this approach, I battled. And from that moment, I actually said, but I am actually good enough. I can actually do it. And I was very productive the last 2 weeks. I had to submit everything today. So I, I had to be, and I had to overcome that. And I used this to actually help me overcome that. Now, to just re-emphasize, I told the story, but I cannot tell the story like Alan did. But he tells a story about a refrigerated truck. And I want to sort of give it over to Alan so that Alan can actually tell that story about the refrigerated truck.
Well, okay, thanks, Andre. Yes, and it's a true story. In Chicago, in the in the rail station there, they were working on this refrigerated rail car. And just on a Friday afternoon, when everybody was knocking off work, another train was shunting past on the line next to it, making one hell of a noise. So the workers walking past this refrigeration truck slammed the door closed, not realizing that there was still someone inside. And he was shouting, but because of the noise outside, nobody heard him. And everybody left, and the rail yard was left empty, except for this poor guy locked in the rail truck, a refrigeration one. So he had a pencil in his little tool bag, and he wrote a letter on the side of the car with pencil to his wife, how much he loved her. And he knew that he's now locked in this refrigeration unit for the weekend, and he doesn't think he's going to survive because it's like minus 25 degrees. And, as happens when you get that cold and hypothermia sets in. That's why these people who climb Everest and that lose their fingers and their toes and sometimes their nose, because the body is an amazing uh, organ. And what happens is the body takes blood from, it doesn't need your fingers to live and survive, doesn't need your toes. So it takes blood to the organs like your heart and lungs and stomach, etc., to keep you alive as long as possible. That's why the fingers turn blue and the toes turn blue, and eventually you lose them. So he knew the effects of hypothermia. And anyway, to cut the long story short, his messages on the side of the truck said, I'm getting colder, I'm shivering, my fingers are turning blue, and I'm really getting cold now. As the weekend wore on, the writing got fainter and fainter. Anyway, to cut the long story short, on Monday morning, when they opened the rail car, they found him inside, and yes, he had actually died. And because it was an unnatural death, he went to the coroner's office. They did an autopsy. The autopsy report said that he had died of organ failure as a result of hypothermia, and basically he'd frozen to death. So his organs had all shut down and he died. Now, the twist to the story was simply this, that the refrigeration unit in that truck wasn't working properly. So it was running at about 12 degrees, which was a temperature that could have easily been survived for the weekend. You would have been hungry and thirsty, but there's no reason why you can't survive for 3 or 4 days without food and water. And basically, what happened, he had thought himself to death. He thought he was in this refrigeration unit. He thought he was going to die from hypothermia. And that's exactly what happened. He basically thought himself to death. And that is the power of the subconscious mind. And there's numerous examples of the power of subconscious mind. And you can go and look it up on YouTube. There's even cases where cars have been involved in an accident and turned over. I read this one case. The car was lying on its roof in a little dam, and the guy had such an adrenaline rush to save the people in the car that he single-handedly lifted the car up onto its side so the people could escape. All in the mind, guys. It's all in the mind. If you think you can or you think you can't, you are always right.
Thanks, Alan. It's fantastic to hear that story again, and every time it's to me it's inspiring. Um, so there's three people now. Obviously, I've messed up the setup. I'll sort it out for the next session. So we can't really speak, but type for me in the messages. Please type for me. Um, what differentiate Bill Gates, Sir Richard Branson, and Elon Musk, except their bank account, from us. What separates them? What's the real difference between those three people and us? What do you think is the difference? Would you say? I see people typing, so that's great. Thanks. Mindset, says Karen. The aura, the belief in themselves. They believed in themselves. They also built something from nothing, but they kept on pushing, not taking no for an answer. I think that's very true. They are able to create or to put their thought into action. They created, yes. I think besides making money from different platforms, they did not go through analysis paralysis. Ayanda, I think that's so true. Seeing possibilities where others see nothing, and mindset, belief in self, not operating in fear, is what Annelies say. And I think it is so true. I think there's more people typing. Let's see. Thanks for those comments. I really think if I have to choose one, but it's because it resonates with me, I will choose Ayanda's one, the analysis paralysis. Sometimes that can get you into lots of trouble. Okay, so I'll look at the comments. David says they just did it. The Nike approach, just do it. And sometimes that's also important, David. I think so. So, Alan, what would you say? What differentiates them from us?
In my opinion, they have learned to overcome fear. People's fear of failure often holds them back from success. And the old saying says, if you don't fail, you're not trying hard enough. You've got to be there. You've got to be in the game. Even if you're in the race and you're not winning, you're still in the race and you have a chance of winning. It's exactly that about the mindset. It's like the guy who checks the newspaper every Friday to see the lotto numbers and then wonders why he never wins because he doesn't actually buy a ticket. You've got to be in the game to win the game. You've got to be in the race to win the race. And of course, along with trying comes failure. And failure is only a failure if you don't get up, dust yourself off, and try again. I can tell you now, all those people Andre mentioned, Branson and Musk and Gates, they all failed at some time or other during their building up of their businesses. If you read their autobiography or their biographies, you see how many times they actually failed. Henry Ford, the Ford Motor Company, went into liquidation 7 times before the Ford Motor Company actually started making money. If I started a business and it went into liquidation once, I would say to myself, well, that was a crappy business. I'm not going to do that again. But he kept going. I mean, who was the guy who invented the light bulb? Edison or
Edison.
somebody. The light bulbs, he first blew 200 light bulbs before he got the right combination of compound and heat that's kept the globe on. And I mean, I would have, after the 10th time, I would have said, no, this is really a crappy idea. I don't think this is ever going to work. And that's the mindset that most of us have. We expect failure. When things don't go our way, we just accept the fact that, okay, that's not going to work. The difference between these guys is they accepted their failures, they turned the failure into success and never give. Hey, what are our 4 ups of networking? Get up, dress up, show up, and never give up.
Thanks, Alan. That's so true. But I was just thinking of it. Something just resonated with me now, because I'm so fearful that I will fail that I'm prepared to fail. Because if I do nothing, I fail. So I'm too scared to do something because I will fail, but I am quite happy to fail because I don't try to do something. It's sort of a circle of failure that it gets you into. So our mindset is often, it's too late. I'm not qualified. I can't find clients. I'm not like them. Or we all do the same. And I shared with you or with the Friday Club in Torre East. I Friday shared a view where somebody said that to Alex Hormozi. I'm just doing, all that I do is, my competitors do all the same thing as I do. And he said he stopped the guy just there. And he said, no. And Alex Hormozi is also one of those people that actually failed 7 times. At 32 years, he was a multimillionaire at 32. But he failed 7 times before that. And he says he stops the people immediately when they say that. Because the moment that you say that, you don't actually look at your value. Go and look at what makes you different. You maybe, if you a specific service that you render, you provide certain additional value. Maybe you come back to people within 3 hours. Maybe you link them up with other people. You don't only give them if you're in the business of giving names, you don't just give names, you actually look at who's the competitors and you build it in that way. So go and look at what makes you different and charge for that. And say, I actually charge more, and this is the reason why I charge more, because this is how I differentiate myself, and this is why I'm different. And if you do that, you actually, I listened to Kobus Visser yesterday. Kobus said yesterday, what's it he used to cars? Are you a Toyota? Or are you what did he use? Aston Martin. Are you an Aston Martin or you're a Toyota? And he said, I'm an Aston Martin. This is what makes me different. And for that reason, I charge more. Is that not actually the way that we should look at ourselves? Because we are all actually very good in what we actually do.
I'm sorry, he's only an Aston Martin because I'm a Rolls Royce.
So their secret to success is basically 3 things. Is really what they do is they write it down, they reprogram their mind, and they just expect success. They just go, this is going to be, and this is how successful I'm going to be. Again, I want to come back to yesterday's discussion or session that we had with Kobus. And it was a very interesting thing that he said. He said, this is how I'm going to market it. And he's very clear in that. He knows his market. He knows who he wants to target, and he knows how he wants to target it. And he's very clear in that. He has an end picture in mind. He's not uncertain about it. He's very clear about it. He expects that success. And he programs his mind and it is written down. And when you do that, you are successful. And that is, for me, that was so powerful to experience it. But speaking about being specific, Alan spoke about this, and when he does his sales training, he always say, be specific. And this is how specific he gets. He says, I want a silver Jaguar XJ6 with tan leather upholstery, and the number plate must read Friday Club 1. Picture it in your mind. See that. It might be good if you add a date to that, and maybe any other specifics, any other features that car must have. It can also be as specific as thinking how it will feel when you ride down a specific street. If you go down the N1 and you're driving in this Jaguar, this is how you feel. When you stop at a garage, this is how people will look at you. This is what he's talking about, that specific points. So what Alan says, Alan, and maybe you want to elaborate on this, but you can't differentiate between your brain, can't differentiate between fact or fiction or a joke or a lie or that destructive self-talk. I have a comment on that, but maybe Alan, you want to expand on that.
The thing is, if you're not specific, for instance, to use Andre's example, if you just say, I want a new car, the subconscious mind says, oh, well, good luck to you. Go for it. I don't think it's going to happen. Those little doubts creep in. But if you are that specific to say what car, what color, and you can actually, while you're thinking about that specific car, you actually can smell that genuine leather upholstery, and you start getting the emotions going in your system and in your subconscious mind. Then all you need to do is program the subconscious mind, write that goal down, and every morning and every evening you say that goal to yourself. You see the car, you see yourself driving it, you smell the leather upholstery, and you just let your subconscious mind. And the funny, crazy thing is that if you do that for 30 days, it becomes a habit. Your subconscious mind starts to feel uncomfortable if you're not heading towards the goal of getting that car. So set your goal. Even Andre spoke about your business goal. Set your goal and make it specific and program your subconscious mind. I think we're still coming to that. But what you have to do is get it. It's like when you drive your car somewhere and you land up at your destination, but you have no idea of how you got there. What actually happened is your subconscious mind drove your car. It hooted at the taxi, it indicated to change lanes, it knew exactly where to go off the highway. And that is your self-conscious mind that's been programmed to travel that route every day. So just imagine if you can program that subconscious mind into your business, imagine where you could get to.
Thanks, Alan. You know, if we talk about, destructive self-talk, I often say to my mastermind people, which is the healthcare brokers and their administrative staff, and then they do something for somebody. And when you compliment it, and I say that's my biggest pet hate with what I do. The moment that you compliment one of those back office staff people, they say, oh, it's just my work. Immediately they talk negative towards themselves. Somebody gives them a compliment. You know, you look good. Oh no, this is an old dress. Immediately take that compliment and own up to that and celebrate that. That destructive self-talk is extremely negative because your brain can't actually distinguish between the two. So your brain, if you say, I want to double, for instance, my income in a year, to your brain, that's what Alan says. That's, it's a fantasy. Good luck with, trying to do that. That's what your brain says to you. But if you say, I will need 2 million rand this year with 4 new clients, 2 retainer packages and 1 upsell product, as an example, it is specific. Now that you start doing that and you say that to yourself every day, then it becomes uncomfortable. That's exactly what Alan speaks about. So again, last week we had Alan's wisdom, this week again, but he says, rewire your brain, that inner narrative, so that it becomes the same as brushing your teeth every single day. You don't think I'm going to do this. It's when you drive somewhere. In the beginning, okay, now I must, uh, you know, look left, I must look right, I must look in the mirror. Now you're just driving. You can't even remember that you get somewhere else. I'm not talking about because we're on our cell phones when we're driving, but it's a natural process. And that is how your goals and the way that we do business must become. It's exactly the same. We must do it as a natural, because we, in the beginning, train it every day. After 30 days, it becomes that habit, similar to brushing your teeth. So this is another one that in the book that Alan speaks about that I think is so interesting, and that is, if you look at success and failure, it's not about the clients. Every one of us can mention 5 clients that's not good or not profitable. It's not about the economy. It's not about the product that we have or whatever. But what it is, it's what Alan says, it's between your 2 ears. It's your mind. And your mind can decide whether you're going to be successful or whether it's going to be a failure. It's not the clients, not the economy. It's our own mind. And I can tell you that I know of many businesses that started in the COVID environment. There's a show that I actually did, which it was called Undercover Billionaire, where they started that in COVID. The people were given $100, a cell phone, and a car that they can use and some gas. And that's it. And then they had to, within a month or within 90 days, they had to build $1 million business. And if they didn't do that, they had to pay in $1 million. And they did that in the COVID environment. And people actually achieved that. It wasn't the clients because they had none. It wasn't the economy. It was crap during COVID. It's not that it was a product because they had no product, but it was because their mindset that they had, whether they're going to be successful or whether they're going to be failure. And I looked at 9 shows. One of the billionaires didn't make it. I think they got to a 800,000 business, the evaluation, and they had to actually pay in $1 million. The rest of them all exceeded $1 million. Okay. So in terms of I think that's sort of to the end of it. Alan, is there maybe before I look at what we're going to do for the next week, for the next month,
Mm.
is there maybe something that you want to just conclude on in terms of this?
The only thing I can say is, you've got to put your mind to it. You've got to be determined. You've got to be enthusiastic, and you've got to be consistent. And you've got to have a plan. You've got to have a strategy, and you've got to stick to that strategy. I was challenged a couple of months ago, or last year, sometime middle of last year. I was challenged by somebody to do R1 million turnover in 90 days. And I accepted the challenge because I had something in the back of my mind that I was working on for a while. And I had a contact in Hong Kong. They wanted to do a retreat. And I suggested to them, why don't you come to South Africa? It was 20 women. Why don't you come to South Africa and go on a safari and use that as your retreat for these women? And with no shortage of money in Hong Kong, I partnered up and come back to collaboration. I partnered up with a tour guide, and we brought these 20 women from Hong Kong. They spent 2 weeks here. They went up to the Blyde River Canyon, down the river on a raft to the elephant sanctuary next to Kruger Park. Then they spent 10 days in the Kruger. They went down to Cape Town for a week. They wanted to go and see Cape Town. They went up the mountain. They came back, went home, paid in dollars. And when I converted the dollars into rands, we had actually done R1 million turnover in 60 days. So it was all about an idea that I had, and I just had the guts and I had the determination to see it through. And I partnered up with the right people and I collaborated with the right people. It's all, what do we always say in Friday Club? Communicate, collaborate, and be consistent. Thank you for that, Andre. And thanks, guys, for joining us today. I'll let Andre finish off.
Thanks, Alan. I think that's to me it's so inspiring. So I think in terms of our exercise for next week, I forgot about something, so we will deal with it just now. But in terms of the exercise for next week, go and write down your business goal and be specific. So what I will do is I will again put this uh, recording onto the YouTube channel. Elmi will do that for us soon, and we will send you the link. So go and write down your specific business goal. And this exercise, I'll also put those 3 exercises together like we did last month. So write down your business goals, but be specific. If you want to, you can share it. You don't need to share it. The next one is visualize reaching that goal every night, every morning. So, but remember how Alan spoke about it. When you reach that goal, how are you going to feel? How are you going to react? Write it down. Remember what I said last month when I spoke about the comrades. The photo that I had at the finish line was a photo that I had in my mind when I started. And I didn't train for the 3 months leading up to it because I had an injury. But I had exactly the same photo. That photo was a photo in my mind. So it is so powerful. And then exercise 3, when you go through this every month, every week, every day, write down your emotions, how you feel. Don't hide your emotions. Like I've been, and I told you that I'm going to be vulnerable with you guys. I told you the issues that I went through the last month. Write it down. Reprogram your mind. Don't let it consume you. That's where I made my mistake. I recognized it, but then it became my reality instead of recognizing it and moving on despite that. And write down those emotions, and where it's good emotions, write that down. That's why I shared with you how great I felt after the talk with Cindy. So there you see a QR code. Our next session is on the 29th of July. And we're going to talk about your silent partner. And it's still the same time, 3 to 4. That QR code is a WhatsApp group. David suggested to me, and thanks a lot for that suggestion, David. He just suggested that we create a WhatsApp group for this, so that anybody that have certain questions that they want to ask, that they ask those questions, that we can communicate on the group, that we have that information, and that we have one session that we can sort of as a community relate to. So please do that if you want to join. There's a QR code. Just take out your photo and scan it. If for some reason you can't do it now, send me a message, a WhatsApp, and I'll send you the link, or I can load you onto the group. It's a voluntary group. If you want to join there, you're welcome to do so. It's Mindset Before Method. That's the title of the book, Mindset Before Method. Okay. So any other, is the QR code not working, Karen? I just tested the QR code. It worked before. So I don't know what the heck it is, but I'll send you the QR code, Karen. If there's anybody else that would like to have it, just send it to me, a note, and I'll load you onto the group. In fact, Karen, I won't send you the QR code. I'll just send it to you. Okay, so yeah, sorry, David. As I said, I tested it just before the session started, and it worked. It was at about 2 o'clock that I checked it. So I don't know what the heck happened. But technology is not my friend today. Let me just see if it works. There, it works with me. If I do it, it works. Yeah, it works with me. So I don't know why it doesn't work. But yeah, I'll send it to you, David, and to no, it's not a shading, David. It works 100% with me. I always give David a lip about it, but I know Karen has got a normal phone, but I always say to David, it's because of the fact that he uses the iPhone. But no, seriously, it just worked with me, and I don't know why the heck it doesn't work. But I'll send it to David and to Karen. But those other people that want, just send me a WhatsApp, and I'll send you or I'll just load you to the group. I just, as I said, I tested it now, but I'll let other people also test it. Okay, thank you, guys. Last time we were about 40 minutes. Today we're 40 minutes. So we're keeping to that. And thank you. Be blessed. Keep well.
What I wanted to tell you is